Well, you do have a manifesto, but you also have a pathway for a reformed internet. And of course, at this point, the internet is simply a digital variant of all of us, right?
Yeah.
So much of our lives are now being lived digitally, and that's only going to increase both in a AR world and a AI world, right? Where I don't see that trend changing at all in the next 20 years. But the question then is that change really going to happen from Facebook, Google, et cetera, suddenly radically changing their business models, or is it going to be much more a product of what we would think of in political terms as grassroots activism, meaning it's just human beings changing their behavior?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a mix of both. I mean, look, to me, the key thing that got forgotten is I think that the whole of the internet was built on a very naive view of human nature, that people are people, they will make choices. If we go along with their choices, what can go wrong? People aren't people. People are confused mixes of all kinds of different ingredients. There's lots of us inside each of us. And specifically, I think we've built an internet that empowers our lizard brains over our reflective selves. That's the
Hmm.
piece we need to flip. And that is doable through careful design decisions, and it's doable at an individual level by us each paying more attention to how we actually plan. Danny Kahneman has written very clearly about system one, system two thinking, and I think so much of life is about empowering your system two self over your system one self. It's like,
Hmm.
whether you look at diet, exercise, how you plan your day, but definitely social media. It's our lizard brains that get angered and irritated and respond, resentful and all the rest of it. Our reflective selves are well capable of overcoming that, but we have to give them a chance. And funnily enough, this same idea carries over when we start thinking about AI. Often the best way to get a good response out of Chat GPT-4 is to say, stop, think carefully, count to 10, and then answer. And it will actually direct it to a different part of the language model, and you get reflective thinking out instead of just instinctive thinking. One reason why I feel urgency around this book is that how we train AIs right now is going to impact the entire future of humanity. And I think we're in danger of teaching them to think that humans are level one beings and to just
Huh.
watch human behavior. You see how they get irritated with each other? This is who we need to optimize for. No, no, we're more sophisticated than that. We need to find a way to train AIs on our best selves, not our worst selves.
I love that as a way of thinking about it, because so much of the current debate around AI is binary and black and white. It's going to be a tool that will enhance humanity, or it's going to be a tool that will destroy humanity. And often these debates redound into a not just cup half full, cup half empty, but depending on your individual predilection, that then shapes the entire conversation, right? So if you're predisposed to seeing the downsides, you're going to think that AI is potentially the final tool of our destruction, and if you tend to see the best in things, you might see it as this is going to unlock amazing human potential. But your way of articulating that, which is how we enter into literally the structuring of this environment, and essentially what the raw materials that we're putting in and what assumptions we're making will become its own sets of self-fulfilling prophecies, rather than there being one pathway or another. I do think part of this is a cultural moment. 1999, if we'd been having this conversation about AI, the theoretical other universe, we would have been talking about the endless potential of unlocking humanity, solving disease, genetically mapping all of us down to the last strand of DNA, so that we could perfect individualized medicine. All the things that we would have been talking about at potential, and now we're talking about Terminator and the rise of the machines, and we're on the verge of the apocalypse, and both are probably untrue. There will be an end of the world at some point. But I really do like that framing of it, that there is a what assumptions we make about human nature will in many ways dictate what these tools are. They are
Mm.
of us. They are not external to us. Do you
Mm.
think that's happening?
I mean, I do. I think you can actually see in a lot of the responses of AIs that they are trying to find that reflective response. In fact, they've been fine tuned to do that to some extent. If you poke one and say something rude about identity X or whatever, they'll come back and say, "Well, I mean, come on, there's actually very good things to be said about that," and they get accused of being woke or whatever. But I think what they're trying to do is to find that sort of step back way of not falling into the sort of the classic human biases, if you like. And are they being successful? Not all the time, but it's an important effort that's going on there. And I think we're going to have to continue with that. And you could picture the hopeful version of the future is this: it's that AIs are not subject to the kinds of emotions that I referred to earlier that drive our obsession with all this narrative around threats and anger and disgust with each other and tribalism and so forth. They're not driven by that. They don't feel any of that at all. And there is every reason to think that we could build a world that is based on more reflective values. Wow, if we could do that, that like you could genuinely picture a world where AIs are helping us to be our best selves.